Old City Hall is really one of our great buildings, our iconic historic landmarks. A city museum. I remember visiting Chicago a few years back and visiting the City Museum there. And I would describe my visit there as the difference between a date and falling in love. When you visit a city and you just are a tourist for a few days, it's like a date. You get to know it a little bit, you get to enjoy it, but then you leave it with a few photos and perhaps a t-shirt. If you visit a museum like Chicago has, or Budapest, or Montreal, or New York, or Vancouver, or cities around the world, unlike Toronto, you get to know their story. In Chicago, I got to learn about how they reversed the flow of their river and horrible tribulations such as the Great Fire there, and so many stories that, in their architecture, I learned about who Chicago was and is, and I began to love that city. I want Toronto to have the same type of facility. I want my daughter and all of our kids to be able to learn about our city in a way that we learn about our indigenous peoples who lived on these lands and continue to do so. I want my daughter and others to learn about the many waves of immigrants who built this city and all the difficult, challenging, and beautiful and triumphant stories that we all share as Torontonians. The sandstone that you see in Old City Hall comes from the Credit Valley, just around Toronto, nearby Toronto, near the forks of the Credit where many of us have gone hiking. There's something very special about this building being the appropriate location for a museum of Toronto, and then of course the museum itself being a showcase for who we are. And as Councillor Carroll pointed out earlier, we have so many artifacts currently hidden away from public view in warehouses. That's not right. We have an opportunity to share this with the public. We think of the things that divide us in this council far too often. But when you ask the average Torontonian about our story, their response will be passionate and with love. And I know that we all feel that way. When we think about our city and its stories and its people, we speak about it with passion, with love. When I speak to Torontonians about the idea of a Museum of Toronto, the immediate response is enthusiasm, excitement, passion, because they love this city. And I know that each of you feel the very same way in your own way.